Hillsborough. It's Hilary. Everyone knows that feeling when you are in the peak of hurricane season and you are glued to the forecast. The good news is that because of where we live, we have a lot of experience dealing with these storms. We also have people in our community who are experts at keeping us safe, like Katja from the Office of Emergency Management. She tells us how we can prepare throughout the year so no matter what comes our way, we stay safe. This is going to be a good conversation, so let's get to it.
Hello, Hilary.
Hey, Tyler.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for coming back.
Oh, well, yes. I mean, I thought about it for a second, but then I decided
I wasn't so
I'm
sure.
going to come back.
I turned the lights on. I'm like, well,
Yes.
week 2, here we go. This is an important one today.
If you're going to listen to a podcast, this is the one because it's going to have such helpful info.
You and I were talking earlier today about some of our personal stories dealing with storms and hurricanes in this area. And it gets really stressful this time of year when you're trying to just educate yourself and keep track of everything that you need to prepare yourself for hurricane season. But when you have people that depend on you, like family, maybe you have kids, maybe you have parents and seniors, and it just gets double exhausting for every single person you're responsible for, and it can really pile up fast.
And like we're about to find out, there's all sorts of different people, and people prepare for hurricanes in all sorts of ways, but there definitely are best practices. So let's talk to Katja.
Hello, Hillsborough.
Katja is here. Hello.
Hi
Hey,
there.
Katja.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're here from the Office of Emergency Management. Just so our listeners are aware, can you kind of go over what that office does? I know there's a lot that goes on there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what emergency management is, but we are the folks that, 24/7, 365 days a year. We're planning for any type of disaster related type of response. Lots of people, if they do know about us, they think that we're the hurricane people. I'm the hurricane lady. But we do a lot more than hurricanes. We're an all hazards department. So, disaster preparedness as a whole, whether that's a natural or a man-made disaster, is what we're looking at every single day.
What do things look like around there when the storm, starts to form and we start to see the models on TV? And I know for us, sometimes you can have mixed reactions depending on, the last storm experience you had or the worst storm experience you had. They're not all disastrous. They don't all even come here. But what goes on over at the office when you start to see something like that?
Yeah, well, we like to joke we're definitely suspicious people. So we will try to keep as much time to where we just don't talk about it.
Right.
Don't pay it any mind. It won't come here. But
talk about it.
no,
it's not going to happen.
Yeah. In all seriousness, though, there is a lot of stuff that starts going on in the background where, you at home may not really be paying it any mind at that point, but we're already keeping our eyes on it. And, in most recent years, we've really seen this kind of conveyor belt of tropical waves coming off of Africa. And we start looking at them even at that point. We look at all that stuff to be as prepared as possible. And then we start messaging with the community and our partners to let them know, hey, there is something out there brewing, and just keep your eyes on it. And we're really focusing on the impact because every single storm is different.
You're so right. Each time a storm approaches us but doesn't directly hit us, it can kind of perpetuate a thought process in all of us that I don't need to evacuate because storms don't hit our area directly.
In reality, Tampa has not directly been hit by a hurricane since 1921. So we're talking about over 100 years, right? And whether you think it's, mystical burial grounds that do that, or the shape of, the county, or what that means of why we haven't gotten hit, it really is just an if but when situation. And we cannot become complacent when it comes to these type of storms. And we have to see, only if you've ever seen it in pictures or videos on the news, it's devastating when these things come and hit those communities. If we look at Hurricane Ian, for instance, Hurricane Ian was just a 20 nautical mile little wobble in the forecast where what happened in Fort Myers and in Lee County, that very well could have been Hillsborough County. Things can change at a moment's notice. And you may go from 1 hour thinking, no, it's going to go one way. And then the next forecast comes out and it's coming straight to you. And you do not want to be in a situation where you waited too long and now you don't have another option to leave.
You talk about options. I know some people choose to stay home and ride out the storm, and some may just go stay with friends or family who live a little bit more inland. But what about people who can't do either of those things?
Yeah, so Hillsborough County has 47 general population shelters, 8 of which are pet friendly. And then we have 5 special needs shelters if necessary. So all special needs shelters are also pet friendly, and you can bring your furry friends with you.
Let's say you're not in a flood zone and you feel like you're at a pretty safe spot. You're just going to stay home and ride out the storm. What do folks like in that situation need to do to prepare?
Yeah. So, and that's a high likelihood, right? There are homes that are not within an evacuation zone, or you may not be in the evacuation zone that we order to evacuate. And so it may be a safe option for you to shelter in place. And so then you have to start thinking about, well, what are the other impacts that come a lot of time with these hurricanes? And most prevalent is power outages, right? We lose power and maybe communication capability. So you want to prepare for those things. You want to make sure you got plenty of water. A good rule of thumb is a gallon of water per day per person. And then you want to make sure that you have plenty of food as well.
Yeah, everyone has their favorite hurricane snacks, right? I mean, we can all make a list of what we love to buy before a hurricane. Food is so important. We really have to think about our basic necessities first, but then our minds go to, gosh, I hope my house will be okay.
I think when someone pointed out to me that it's easy to get stressed about your property, and
Yes.
it is, but like if you are safe, the rest of it can be replaced.
That's so true. I mean, we all worry about our roofs and our fences and all the trees and things, but in the end, it is are you safe? Is your family safe? And that's it. Because I think through every hurricane so far, we've had some sort of issue at our house.
Mhm.
And every time I'm like, oh, at least we're okay. You know, like our fence has fallen down. We've had a tree fall down.
And I'm sure a lot of people could say the same for their neighborhoods. They could probably leave their
Yes.
house and see something like that.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And that's a really great segue of talking about the preparation of your property too, because that's such a big thing.
It's huge.
Again, it's not waiting until the last minute to do it, right? It's spacing those things out so you can, hopefully budget for those things and you can manage that. So keeping your yard clean, not letting, brush and other things build up on the side of your home, because Florida has wildfires, folks. Like, it's not just hurricanes, right?
Right.
But making sure that your trees are as trimmed as possible. Do you have anything leaning over top of your house? Do you have loose shingles on your home? If you live in a mobile home, do you have tie downs for your mobile home, right? Because you don't want to stay in those if we're calling for a zone A. Those include all mobile and manufactured homes. But there are even things for mobile homes that you can do to hopefully mitigate and keep your home there if we have impacts and high winds. So again, just little pieces at a time, little bites out of the elephant, if you will, throughout the year are going to make you feel a whole lot better, if this comes to Hillsborough.
And it's important not to do all of that yard work like the week you hear about the hurricane, because think about it. You got your debris at the end of your driveway. Well, that's probably just going to flow into the storm drains and then clog them. It's important to do it early on.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that you're like, wow, I would have never thought about that. But it's in the little details. It's the little details a lot of times that matter in these situations.
It is. Listen, we get to live in the most beautiful area on earth, and that comes with just a little bit extra preparedness throughout the year in case we have a hurricane.
Yes.
We don't have snow.
We don't have snow.
So
there are silver linings here.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't have to get out the scraper for our windshield.
That's why I'm here. To point out
exactly. The silver
lining. I know there's a lot of misconceptions out there about hurricanes. What would you say is the biggest misconception that people seem to have about storms?
There is a big difference between a flood zone and an evacuation zone. And people still get very confused by this, but I'm going to break it down to you.
Okay,
right?
awesome.
I'm going to break it down.
I'm going to admit that
I was going to say, I might be one of those people.
I know,
so
and we even work.
It's super important to know the difference. So, and both of these things you can look up on our Hillsborough County Stay Safe page. Just to, this is reference. You don't need to remember it just for me telling you right now. But a storm surge is when we're talking about the water that is getting pushed onto the land from the hurricane. So depending on the direction of the storm, its speed, how is it turning, what side of the storm it's on, you'll hear a lot of times newscasters talking about the dirty side of the storm or what impacts we're going to see. But that's what the storm surge is. It's this very rapid flooding and push of water. And it's literally the ocean is coming to your doorstep. And then on top of that, you have high winds. And, storm surge and height is not including waves. So you get wave action a lot of times in these, catastrophic incidents as well. There were reports of 20-foot some waves by the Skyway just from Debbie.
And that came out of nowhere, and no one really thought it was going to be as big of a deal as it was.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big difference with storm surge. Flood zones are a lot of times dealing with like low-lying areas or flood-prone areas. This could be more when I'm talking about heavy rains or things like that. And so this is something that we saw really with Debbie with this last storm, were locations that were low-lying, flood-prone areas. They got a lot of water, but we also got locations that got water that they don't usually get water, just because this was a historical event. When you have so much rain that falls in such a short period of time, it has no place to go. And Debbie was a nice little perfect storm because we had just enough storm surge where it created a pretty much like a cork in a wine bottle. It was enough pressure on the coastline and at the mouths of the rivers where it did not allow the water to run off. So that's when we're seeing a lot of flood areas. So if you look at a flood zone map, right, this has a lot to do with like flood insurance and things like that. That's what flood zones are. Evacuation zones have to do with storm surge. So if we are telling you to evacuate, and I'm saying a zone A through E, right, anywhere of those letters in between, I am talking about life, safety, storm surge. Storm surge is the killer in hurricanes. You hide from wind and you run from the water. So that's very important to know the differences.
Well, I think I have a lot of work to do. I think you probably would say the same.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, though, Katja, the county is listening. Is there anything you'd like to leave us with?
Yeah, well, me coming here today, it's not to scare the community, but it's just to make sure that you guys are aware and prepared, that you're taking the time to make sure that you and your loved ones, your friends, and your family are prepared for anything that may come to us here in beautiful Hillsborough County. Because at the end of the day, we want you guys to be resilient and to keep your family safe. And so take the time now to make sure that you're ready and prepared to do that.
So everything we talked about today, the shelter information, the evacuation zones, all of that, plus so much more, where can people go to find out about that?
Yeah, they can go to hcfl.gov/stay safe. All of that information will be there. All the links to our awesome maps to find this information, shelter registration for special needs, checklists of how to build your disaster kits. And it also has the link to our disaster guide for 2024 with all this great information in there is also located on there. You should also register for HCFL Alert. If you have not done that, you're going to receive messages straight to your phones that will let you know the most up-to-date information that you need. And that information will also carry into the recovery phase. It'll help you of what do I do next? How do I maybe apply for assistance? And even if you're a business owner, it has great information on there as well. So make sure to check out our Stay Safe page.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Hillsborough.
Tyler, for such a stressful topic, Katja really has a calm way of talking about it.
She does. I was very impressed by that.
I know. How could you be so calm in the midst of chaos?
I can talk about it in a calm manner for a little while, but after a while, it just
starts to shake with anxiety. Okay.
No, she's very good at it.
Yes. Such good info.
And like I said earlier, we were talking about personal experiences dealing with these storms, and I told a story about a certain member of my family who wouldn't evacuate one time, and it got really difficult. And so you don't want those things. You don't want to deal with those things while the storm's on top of us. You want to make sure you have all that under control before we get to that point.
Yeah, and I love that she said, we haven't had a direct hit in a long time, but if we do, it's going to hurt our area. So we have to be prepared and treat each one like it's going to be that bad one. Because why risk it?
I'm glad she set the record straight on storm surge and what that actually is, because I think that's a word we hear a lot.
Yeah, we're about to sound so smart next time we go to dinner with our friends.
Or really annoying.
Really annoying. Yeah. I mean,
I think we might already
it's
be
a toss
there.
Up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, since our show is called Hello Hillsborough, we don't say goodbye here, but what we do say is thank you so much for joining us. However you spend your day, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen. So remember to click that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode.
And be sure to follow your favorite county on social media. We are at Hillsborough FL on all the platforms. And for more information on everything Hillsborough County, check out the all-new hcfl.gov.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Hilary. Until next time.